Hello and welcome to this little Spalluccipedia video. Another quick dive into the ever-expanding universe of my investigator paranormal Sam Spallucci. Now please, before I crack on, could you just give it a quick like, give us a subscribe? That'd be absolutely marvellous. It makes the heart beat so much fonder. So today I want to have a chat about one of the side characters who we see mentioned a few times in Sam's book now, and that's the archaeologist Professor Robert Richmond. Now, he's had a number of appearances at the time of recording this, and most of them have been like blink and you miss it, because normally Sam referring to him. Sam is a big fan of this larger-than-life archaeologist who does also like these chat shows on television and whatnot. And you'll occasionally have Sam watching him. I think the first one cropped up in Ghosts from the Past, and Richmond was talking about the Indus Valley. And then in Shadows of Lancaster, Sam sees similar interview, but it's changed because, of course, Sam's changed the timeline. So it's used as a way to show that things have changed. But it's always important what Richmond is talking about. So, for example, in the Indus Valley, where he's been digging up, he's talking about the Horned God and the various seals there, which of course Sam encounters when he goes to Indus Valley, when he's taken there during Troubled Souls. So Richmond is sort of used in the earlier books almost like a way of pointing out things which are going to affect Sam later on. And then after Fear of the Fallen, we start to encounter more of him. We've already had the little short story where his daughter, it turns out to be Eloise, i.e. Alex's mother, is his child. And, you know, she's taken off like a chip of the old block. You know, she's there dressed up as this Arthurian knight. And in How the Tibbles Got His Name, she meets Tibbles, and the future self sees her and blanks her memory of that, so to speak. So we start to get the connection there of Richmond with Eloise. But then in Out of the Depths, we have another short story, which I'm not quite decided on the title yet at the time of recording this, although this will be published after the book's been published. So you'll know the title before I do, which is a bit of a weird paradox. We have an actual Robert Richmond based short story, and it's set in present time, with him being interviewed on the television, which we actually have Sam watching in one of his books before you've read the short story. But also flashbacks to when he's in the Indus, and it turns out that he discovers the eternal known as the cup, you know, this big chalice type affair, and starts to realise that his daughter Eloise is involved with it. And I sort of leave it there at the end of Out of the Depths. So that's where we are at the end of Fury of the Fallen. But come Lux Eterna, we have the case of the argumentative archaeologist, which I am literally writing at the moment. I decided to do this video today because I'm just about to have, you know, Sam meet Robert Richmond in the flesh. And it's just going to be great to work on. It's to do with the Eternals. I don't want to give too much away, although this video will probably be out after Lux, but I've got to be a bit careful. But it involves the second Eternal, it involves the Blade, it involves Arthurian legend, everything which Robert Richmond stands for. So, yeah, that's basically where we are timeline-wise at recording this. Now, where did Robert Richmond come from? Well, first, the name is quite an easy one. I used to work with a chap by the name of that, who was a music teacher at a local high school where I was an invigilator. And when I was coming up for a name for Eloise's father, Bob's name just came to my head. I'm like, yep, that'll do. So to me, sounds like a Robert Richmond sort of character. His big, boisterous, sort of booming voice. Yeah, that'll do. So we went with that. Personality-wise, yeah, I think there's a bit of me in there. If I was to be put on sort of like a chat show, and I was going to be sort of like up against sociologists and postmodernists and people who didn't really know what was going on with the world in the past and the future, whatever. So he's got sort of like my inner rant, as it were. And yeah, I do enjoy exploring that with him. But if you look at sort of like the archaeologists, which we used to have on TV quite a bit, sort of like in the 90s and the noughties, you got the likes of Zahi Hawass, Robert Richmond, these sorts of people, you know, the very sort of like big characters, very passionate about what they're doing. So I've taken those and combined that with sort of like my ranty side, and basically end up with Robert. But his driving force is this whole Arthurian legend thing. Yes, we know that he's into sort of like the Indus Valley, and you know, he'll dig wherever. But him, Arthurian legend drives him. That's what puts him apart from the rest of sort of the academic circles. Because of course they all poo-poo it. It's like, no, he was just a legend, he was a myth, blah, 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 blah. Whereas Richmond's like, no, I think this guy existed. And of course, when he uncovers the cup in Indus Valley, for him, that's like he's found the Holy Grail. So which then brings us to Lux Eterna, where he's now after Excalibur. And yeah, so he's just a great character to write. I tend to sort of like visualize a lot of my sort of like characters as actors and whatnot. So for example, Dagon, I've mentioned in the previous video, Stephen Merchant, Chris Hemsworth, you know, should he ever be listening, is the leader of the bloodline, Vincent Stone. I think there is a good dose of the Brian Blesseds in Robert Richmond. Sadly, he would probably be too old to play the character, because I think he's in his 80s now, late 70s, early 80s. Whereas it's mentioned that Robert Richmond is early 60s. But you never know. We'll wait and see. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little ramble. Again, please, quick like, quick subscribe. Keep looking for Lurks in the Shadows. I'll see you again soon.